Actually, I'm trying to get back to present day because I have reverted back to the 1970s, and I am on the last day of school. They used to play this song on the last day of school every single year because it's Alice Cooper, School's Out. And I mean, I can remember leaving the parking lot and that song blaring. It was appropriate. It was awesome. It's still awesome because suddenly I was feeling 16 again, and that was just amazing. I haven't felt like that in a long time.
Wow. Well, you know, talking about 16 again, I mean, have you ever had a moment where you just felt like you didn't know what to expect from the day, right? I mean, when you're 16, everything's brand new. Every day is like an opportunity. It feels like you're starting fresh, right? And I feel like we're starting fresh here, even though it's the very end. It's the last episode of the season. And what do you know? We have a fresh guest on the show.
That was such a good transition.
That was good.
I think he's been working on that all morning.
He scripted that.
Yesterday, remember I called you, I texted you, and I said, hey, let's go.
He's been on this, yeah.
So, it's not only Kathy Cox-Boyle and Ryan Pierce on the show today, but it's also a special guest from Louisiana Delta Community College, our brand new and fresh career services coordinator, manager. What's the
Coordinator.
Okay, and her name is Lynne Free, everybody.
And I'm trying not to get immersed in the fact that he doesn't think I'm fresh. See, you're fresh, and I'm not, you know. I was just feeling 16, but I'm not fresh.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, see, I always put my foot in my mouth some kind of way.
No.
Well, everybody, welcome to the show. It's been far too long since we visited. You know, we were supposed to have a show out for you guys 2 weeks ago, actually. And I flubbed. Do you want to tell them the story?
It's not that big a deal. I mean, we like to keep everybody on their toes. Ryan likes to keep me on my toes. And so I had actually texted him as I was leaving Ruston because I come to Louisiana Delta Community College, which is in Monroe, for the podcast. And I said, ooh, I know the music I want. Let's do Alice Cooper, School's Out, because school was out right then. And I drove on over. It was a beautiful morning. I was enjoying my music, pulled into the campus, was just getting out. I get a call. Oh, Kathy. I said, yeah. Well, Ryan, now look, he forgot, and that's okay, but I'm going to tell you why it's all right. Because he had a child that was graduating from high school, and they'd had all the festivities the night before. They had a big family brunch going on that day, and I'm like, please, we should never have scheduled this in the middle of that to begin with. And so anyway, it was so awesome because in the middle of what he calls a flub, we had a great moment to celebrate. That is such an occasion.
Yeah, I'm very happy. My son, he graduated. I mean, he actually graduated with honors. He's doing so well, and he's just, the funny thing is these kids these days, they're still trying to figure out what they want to do. So like he's used to school being, sort of assigned, right? You're going to go to this school because you live in this district, and now he's got choices, and he's been having choices, and he still hadn't figured out where he wants to go. But that's okay, because that's not to take away from the celebration. That is, he did graduate, and it was a fun time and a great time, and family coming in town for all the right reasons.
Yeah.
Was fantastic. So,
and I want to just offer him this word.
Word.
He may not know for a long time what he wants to do. I mean, because I'll be 66 this summer, and I'm still not sure I know what I'm going to be doing, you know? And so,
I mean, career services is my day job. I'm 32. I just did a pivot in career to do this job. So I also don't have it figured out either. And I tell students that all the time. You don't have to have it all figured out right now.
Pivot, because we and I think we should, because that keeps it fresh. There's that word again. Keeps it fresh. But really, and I think that's been a real blessing in my journey, is there have been pivots. I've stayed in the same pond, but I have pivoted at that moment when I should. Yep. And it's allowed me to grow. I mean, really. And so I hope he will realize that the decision he makes now will just open the door for another decision that he'll make later. And that's a learned skill, making those decisions. So
yeah, definitely.
Anyway.
Like you said, and what is it, like 3 or 4 careers is pretty normal nowadays for a person
I think more like 12 or 14.
Yeah. Right. And I love that. The fact that you said you're keeping things fresh, you're still trying to figure out what you want to be when you grow up. I mean, that's all part of the wonder that we should all have as we continue in our adult lives. Everything sort of should be fresh and new for us, right?
And so this kind of plays into something I was thinking about coming over. because when you say that, when you're poised to allow things to evolve and for something new to come along, something fresh, you never know when you're going to capture lightning in a bottle right then. I was listening to the Elvis channel coming over, and the song. I know it. Everybody be shocked. I was flipping around, but anyway, Suspicious Minds came on, and I was listening to it, and my focus went to the backup singers, the Holiday Sisters, who used to just hang around American Studios, and they ended up singing on that historic recording session. And there it is. And I wondered if they had any clue when they went in that day that they were going to be a part of capturing lightning in a bottle. Had no idea. They just showed up. And so that to me is the lesson. We just have to show up, and you just never know what wonderful thing is going to come out of it.
And what's funny about that is Lynne just showed up, right?
And she's fresh. Gosh. What could be better? She showed up and she's fresh. I'm feeling better about myself now. It's awesome.
Yeah. So Lynne, tell us a little bit, just if you don't mind, you're on the show. 10 minutes ago, I told you what the show was about. We're talking about STEM and STEM outreach in Region 8. And then, we're trying to maybe tie that into careers and whatnot. From your thoughts and your perspective, what is it about STEM that is going to, play into the individual who is looking to make certain career choices? And do you see anything on the horizon that you could point to and say, yeah, STEM is impacting this career, or this company's looking for X, and, STEM would be very helpful in that space?
God, that's a loaded question.
I was going to say, she may need a minute to just kind of gather her thoughts.
Let me gather myself. But I would say it impacts everything.
You're exactly
right. To tell you the truth, that's a big umbrella, STEM, right? It impacts everything. It really does. That's the long and short of it. So right now, I have students that are constantly coming to me for IT. Yesterday, I just spoke to a group of students in welding. So we have all of this variety at Delta, right, of different paths people can take. So sometimes they're sitting in their classroom and they're trying to think of the possibilities, and they're like, this, that, and that. But STEM, it covers everything to me in my mind. So it really, so my goal is to bring specific skills to students, right? At the end of the day, and my goal is to help, come along and help prepare them for that. So it's one of those things where I love getting to know more about STEM, and it plays into the career options that I put forth to students.
So she had a real key word in what she was saying, and she kept saying skills. Because here's the deal. Our job is not to create scientists or technicians or engineers or mathematicians. If that happens, fantastic. But it's the skills that they learn through these types of experiences that they're going to need. It does not matter where they are, because where we are in life right now, you've got to be able to collaborate. You've got to be able to communicate. You've got to be able to think critically. You need to be able to problem solve. All of these things that our STEM experiences allow you to immerse in and develop those skills. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because some people just think we're trying to force kids into a whole, a pigeonhole of STEM, and we're just using STEM to help them, with a better future.
Kind of elevates, helps keep them going in all sorts of aspects of life.
Plus, it hooks them. They get excited and engaged, and then they find their journey.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You can't have enough skills. You can't have enough experiences that inform you, right, of what you want to do. And like you said, through STEM learning and education and outreach, you may develop some skills that apply anywhere. I also wanted to say something else, because I just thought of something. When we talk about STEM, that's an acronym, right? For those that have never heard STEM before, I'm sure you have: science, technology, engineering, and math. Lynne, our esteemed career services coordinator, came up with an acronym that I don't know if it's ready for prime time or not, but you shared it with me. And it was something that you wanted to share with some of our students.
Right.
And the acronym was SMART.
Start.
Oh, see, look at that. I'm sorry. It's START.
Start smart, but START's the acronym.
So what does START stand for?
Seriously, tell us.
So I created kind of a basic curriculum of, career exploration. What are the things that help prepare you for that? So the S for START is self-awareness. Yeah. Knowing yourself and knowing your values, your interests, and your purpose, and pursuing that, because you can pursue that in any job you do, but you need to know that about yourself. Second thing was try things out. That's where internships, apprenticeships, testing things out, and exposure to things. And then let me think. STA.
It's been a minute since you.
It has. It's been a minute since I've looked at my notes. So self-awareness, try things out, apply what you learn.
There you go.
So there's the skill part where you're really like applying what you're doing. The R, reflect and reassess. And I say that, I put that in there intentionally because in our culture, and I said this to the welding students, busyness is a badge of honor. Keeping yourself scheduled to the hilt is some sort of badge of honor in our culture in the world. So taking time to really reflect on what worked and what didn't can help you keep applying what you're learning. Mm-hmm. And then the final T, take action. Just simply take the first small step. I had a boss once. I was going through a really difficult personal trial, and I had a boss. I didn't know what to do because I wanted to keep my job, but I had to leave the city, really leave the state to take care of what was going on. And I was in his office in tears, and he looked at me and he said something so profound that I want to make sure I pass on. Take the next right step for you, and we will support you in that. And he did. So take action, take the next small step. It doesn't have to be, the next big step. Don't have to have your 5 or 10 year plan lined out, but just take the next right step for you.
I love that this is based in knowing yourself, because if you know yourself and you know your strengths and you know your passion, then it helps inform what you will and will not do. I had this very conversation yesterday at work. It was kind of a tag on to an earlier conversation where, someone was quizzing me about why I never was a principal. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And so when they came back through yesterday, poked their head in the office, said, surely you had opportunities to do that. People wanted you to do that. I said, oh yeah. But I said, I didn't want to do that. That's not where my gift is. It would take me too far from the work. Mm-hmm. I'm one of those boots. I said, I know myself. I've always known myself. And that helped me. I said, because, yes, that would have been the next logical step, but it wouldn't have been the right step for me. Mm-hmm. So I said, I've always been comfortable in the choices that I made with that, because I said it all started with me knowing myself.
That's something. Everything's just segueing so perfectly. And just, again, to say that we just put you on the show 10 minutes ago, we just pulled you into the room just a few minutes ago. It's working beautifully. Start, by the way, everybody, copywritten. You cannot take that from Lynne. She made that up all by herself. I think she did.
Yes.
And so, so we're going to keep pushing that. We might say that again in subsequent episodes, just to keep it fresh.
I see a workshop in my future. Just saying. See a workshop.
That's right. Oh, yeah. We'll talk offline. I know exactly. Yeah, you're pulled into the family now. It's over. Okay. So.
You cannot hide.
Kathy knows who you are now.
Notice I'm not saying anything. I just make the facial expression. Oh, no.
So it looks like we're still recording, y'all. So that's a good thing. It looks like everything's still working.
Totally excited.
We joked about that earlier as well, about the flubs and all that. So is it time to go to, exploring the things that have happened since we last met?
Yeah, let's put a bow on this thing. Let's look at how the year ended up. I think that's a great idea.
And I think the first thing that we're going to talk about is Caldwell Parish. In Caldwell Parish, there was a day of the skills team visited the elementary school, observing classrooms in the Louisiana Elementary OpenSciEd pilot. And you were just checking out what a great job everybody was doing.
Yeah, and I think the thing I want to say about that is they really deserve props, because when you're sign up and you're willing to pilot something, you're a pioneer. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's doing it. They're kind of waiting to see what you're doing. How does it go? And so you're really kind of putting yourself out there. And so they went through their training, and we were just kind of doing a little follow-up, doing some walkthroughs. And I got to say this, without exception, every classroom we went in, whether it was in Junction City, whether it was in Caldwell Parish, these kids were engaged. They were on it. The teachers were doing a great job. That is so encouraging. And it's really invigorating, because to see teachers commit like that and then kids respond, it's a big deal. And so, and we were talking a while ago about their skills. You're looking at collaboration. You're looking at them talking. They're exploring. They're using the things, the tools that are provided for them, and then applying it as they go. And it's all the things you were talking about, Lynne, with being smart. Yeah. And so it's wonderful. These are little people. And to see them starting young, this is going to make them better, bigger people, And so we need better, bigger people. That's right.
Yeah,
so,
actually, and it's interesting. You said that, communication being key, a building block. You have teamwork being absolutely critical in everything that we do nowadays. I got to tell you that, just working with Lynne, just even though we haven't done any major projects, I can already tell that she's a great team player.
Oh, yeah.
And so, these are things that when you can instill these skills in elementary and middle grade students, they're going to keep that. And this is fantastic.
Well, and it's also, Ryan, I'm going to say it's encouraging to middle school teachers because they're going to inherit a better product. And then as they get proficient and master the skills more in middle school, high school teachers are going to be excited because they're going to inherit a better product. And then eventually your post-secondary is going to be like, wow, where did these people come from? They are so good. And then employers are going to be like licking their chops, like, I want this person on my team. And so, I mean, it's a ripple effect, and I love to see it. I love to be a part of that organic, kind of grassroots movement. So, yeah, love it.
That's right. And then, because you explore all of Region 8, and it's not limited to any one parish, where did you end up next? And I'm looking over here at my little screen.
And he expects me to remember where I ended up next. Were we over in Lake Providence?
Yes, I expect you to remember, and you remember. See,
no, when he was making a big deal, because that is like, I might as well have gone on to Mississippi, because I was over there right by the river. So this, and I have to say this, and we'll probably see her picture later, but Lakeisha Lucas, who is our fearless leader over there, was one of our award winners this year at the mini summit. She has just embraced this like I can't even begin to tell you. And so we had taken her some Worrisome Waters kits that we put together, and these kids were actually engineering, and they really did a great job. A solution for a community that was needing to do something about their water supply. And she said they were fearless, which, y'all, that is another skill. Not being afraid to step off into something that you don't know, and excited. Look at that. And so, yeah, this was just, oh, look, there's our skills thing on the table. I'll just point that out. The rack card. There it is. But anyway, how exciting. Number one, that they find value in these things that we put together, and they see how their kids are going to grow doing it. But the fact that it works everywhere. I mean, there we go. We're over in Lake Providence, and that's amazing. So, yeah, couldn't be more excited.
I was reading, it said conserving water during a flood freakout. So what they were building potentially, as I saw it, looked like a water tower, or something. Maybe that was a part of the deal. That's cool.
and one of the things Lakeisha said is, here we are over here on the banks of the Mississippi where flooding can be a real. So, I mean, it was very applicable for where they are in their community and stories they've heard about flooding and the possibility of it. And so, yeah, I mean, it was just way cool. We loved it.
Yeah. So, as a thing that happens pretty regularly, at least once a year, regularly, right? There is this thing that's a celebration and also a collaborative endeavor, which is called the SCILS Mini Summit. Yep. That happens every year. This is what, the 4th year, 5th year in a row?
I'm thinking we have a 5 next year. Maybe. I'm not sure. I got to go.
Big number, right? And so the next set of images that's going to pop up is related to just that. Tell us about how that went, because actually this is the first year that I was not able to take part.
I had a total hole in my heart.
Yeah.
Ryan wasn't there. I mean, they always schedule some faculty summit over here on my mini summit.
So it's my fault, because our Grill and Chill B-Tech mini conference and all that was happening that week. And so, I kind of have to be here for that.
Well, I get it. I do.
Because, business and tech, that's my group.
Obviously, I can function with a hole in my heart, and that's okay.
I'm so glad you're still all right. I was sad, too.
So, when people ask what the mini summit is, it is a point of celebration for us at the end of the year. We bring our partners together. This year was a Mexican fiesta, which was a wicked, awesome success.
Sad I wasn't there.
Yeah, you missed it.
The food is always excellent, by the way.
Oh yeah, and so anyway, all these partners that we've worked with through the year, they're there. We celebrate them. You're seeing the United Way right there. That was some 4-H before that. This was a powerful presentation by our Boys and Girls Club team that were part of the partnership effort with Legends of Learning this year, where they're using that awesome platform to work with the kids in their different campuses. And man, I'm telling you, it was powerful when they talked about the effect it was having on kids. And the thing I love about this is all we did was facilitate a partnership. We had this opportunity. We connected with the Boys and Girls Club. We really don't I mean, our hands are not in it other than we just are supporting them as they go. And that's what SCILS is all about, partnerships and finding that right fit. And so, yeah, that's the Boys and Girls Club. This is awesome. So we had the West Ridge Middle School SeaPerch team. They had won. They came to SeaPerch for the first time this year, won the whole thing. Wow. So they brought their SeaPerch ROV over, and they were demonstrating and showing it to everybody and kind of getting the kinks out because they were on their way to internationals, which we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Did a great job. And so for them to sit there and explain, and I love their, you got teachers sitting there looking and saying, okay, these kids did this.
Right. What they do.
Yeah.
We could learn something
wow.
so we could be more competitive next
time. Yeah. So having these kids there, it lets people kind of see the fruit of some of the labor, but also to showcase accomplishment and what these young people did. It was very exciting. Yeah. And then one of the great things about this is networking. We have a little speed networking session, and we've kind of talked about different things that have gone on. And I'll point out, I said, now, if you're looking for this, and then we give them about 10 minutes, and they just get up and move around the room. So you see here on the left, that is Jennifer DePriest, who is the director at Region 6. She came up and did a little thing on our Recipe for Rural STEM, and man, she beelined to the Boys and Girls Club because that was a great partnership effort, and she wanted to hear more about what they were doing. So there you go. I mean, organically and in a different part of the state. And okay, there's the food. Just saying. Yeah, that was the what are they called? Well, that's the dessert part. That's the
best part.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got some dessert name. I don't know. So here are a couple of our TSIDA award winners. That's Lakeisha over there on the left, and then my colleague Missy Woolley on the right. And Wool's got one of the TSIDA awards this year just because of her greatness in getting this to expand. And in the last episode, we talked about how she just completed her doctorate, and she's going to be moving into full-time teaching. And so it was really appropriate that we recognize her because she's just been masterful at making it happen.
Smith Innovation and Transformation
right.
Award. It's truly an honor to get, and so anybody that receives it, they know that they've done their part to advance STEM education and outreach.
And I have to point out that Ryan was one of the inaugural winners of this award. Very first year.
I had no idea that was.
Yeah.
But Tanya Oak Smith, I mean, her legacy. Can you say just a blurb about Tanya Oak
She
Smith?
was phenomenal, and she headed up the communications at Louisiana Tech. She was on our team when we first started SCILS, and she just was one of those that she saw such value in things that maybe folks didn't necessarily, really recognize, and she pushed for us to expand and to, break down barriers. And she was all about transformation, and so that's why when we lost her, she died. And so that year we initiated an award in her name. And so our real, barrier breakers, transformation champions for the year, we recognize them at the mini summit, and so that's what that's all about. Bill Deese, he's one of our partners in crime, does our EPSCOR grant with chemistry, and that's Dr. Joanne Dozot, who has been a longtime supporter. She was a dean when I was back in one of my degrees. We don't go into that. Oh, and so here is Downsville, and I've got to tell y'all. So this is our Downsville SeaPerch team. They were on their way to Worlds as well. And they kind of were just giving their testimony about what SCILS has done. And I'm telling you, if you ever wonder why we do the work, that young man standing there was the last one, and he got up there and he talked about how SCILS has changed his life and how grateful he is. And he said, it's not just changed me, it's changed my school, it's changed my community, the opportunities have been more than we could have ever dreamed. And you're sitting here thinking, we were excited about them doing well with SeaPerch, and he's telling us, that's great, but you've changed my life. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, and so those kids speak, and here's another thing. We talk about communication. These kids speaking to this room full of primarily adults, they don't know these people. And they are articulate, and they are passionate, and it was mind-blowing. I actually kind of teared up at one point. I mean, I don't know, y'all. The idea that a kid says one small thing he did has changed their life, I just that's a lot for me.
I remember this group when they they came, I guess, last year or the year before, and they were phenomenal. And they had great teamwork, great chemistry, and you could see the excitement in their eyes as they were solving problems and finding success all at the same time. And that gentleman right there, he's I've talked to him on occasion. He's an impressive young man, and to say that, and if you know Downsville, if you know the community, and for him to say that, I don't think my eyes would have been dry at that point, because I mean, you're thinking, wow, something that you did just on a whim, just as an experiment, just to bring some additional concepts and structure to.
It's that lightning
skills.
in a bottle.
And it's the lightning in a bottle, and then it hits the right place, and to transform a community. Wow.
And so, if we go back, Lynn, to what you talk about, people knowing themselves. So these kids competed as this team as middle school students, and they recognized the power they had as a quartet. So as they moved into high school, they said, we will not change our team. We're going to keep this dynamic intact. And this young man is on with 3 girls. I mean, he just is okay with that, but they realized the power that they had. The power they had together was better than they could do by themselves. And so I think that goes back to what we said about, do you know yourself? Do you know your strengths? And they see the strength that they share with one another. Oh, gosh, this is Miss Norland Hyde. She is one of the nursing professors at Tech. We had a new event this year, getting into the guts of healthcare. We partnered with them. Again, one of those things where, the partnerships are so awesome. So she actually did our Stimulus Fest and getting in the guts of healthcare. And you've got real nurses sitting there helping these kids do real nurse stuff, I mean, and it's just fabulous. Fabulous watching these kids do all this. And so, there she was. Good to see her. And there we're back to our 4-H people. And so they were like, Kathy, move along. I've got food on my plate.
It really is such a wonderful event. And I remember being there every other time. And when you get a chance to talk to others, when you have that networking session, you almost don't want to stop. You just want to keep going and going. And the point is to at least have an introduction, and then continue the conversation, after or offline, so to speak. It's a really great event. And every year, it seems like we're learning something new about each other. We're showcasing something that is magical that happened. You always have some great things to say as a recap. And we just have great speakers. And these kids, they get up there and they wow us every time.
And Lynn needs to be there next year. I'm just saying.
Yes.
I was thinking it.
You need to be on the LDCC bus coming on over. And so, I'm sitting here thinking, with some of the things that in my mind I'm thinking we'll need to do together this year will be something we can spotlight at the mini summit next year. And so I really want us to be intentional about that. Listen, we can't say enough to people about the importance of opportunities that showcase what these kids can do post-secondary, and to realize that there are different paths to success and really how we leverage those. And so the fact that you are all about the careers and how we get there, we need you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, she's speechless.
Putting you on the spot. Yeah, it's because you're fresh. See, I want you because you're fresh.
And her last name is Free. She's fresh.
Yes.
Fresh and free.
Now, I don't think the Facebook page shows anything from the Nationals or World.
Not yet, no.
But do you have any results
I do, and I may have to look at my notes. I was looking at them. I'm going to start by telling you we rocked. So first,
we're talking about SeaPerch again.
Well, actually, we'll start with KidWind.
Oh,
we were at KidWind first. So let me just kind of back it up to people that with our KidWind this year, we got a special invitation for a third team to go because Maya, if you remember from Good Hope,
this is up there. Yeah,
there you go. So that's Maya from Good Hope, and she was leading in our KidWind competition, and she stopped to help 2 other teams who ended up beating her. It went into a sudden death. But she was such a cool little chick about it. So we got a special invitation for her to go to Worlds and got out there. And if she didn't win the Spirit of KidWind award out there at Worlds. And so she was able to take a partner with her, Russell White, their coach, just phenomenal. And so we are so proud of them. Had never been. She's about as big as a minute, and just went out there fearless. I think there's some other pictures. Yeah, look at her. She's just crawled up in there and going after it. I mean, I can't say enough about that child. We talked a while ago about being fearless. This youngin' is fearless, and here's another thing, y'all. And this was a point that was made, and I don't even know who I was talking to, but for kids that they've never been out of the state before, or they've never been on an airplane before, or they've never seen this, that, or the other, and to know that you had a small part in opening that window to the world for them. They came back, and I don't think I posted these pictures of them like on some ride or whatever, and they went to some theme park or whatever. The experience is so important for them. And so there's her award, Spirit of KidWind. Now that is huge. That basically says, Spirit of KidWind, if we could mass produce teams, we would want it to be like this one.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Didn't necessarily win, but they have all the elements in place. Love that. Love that. Okay, so that was KidWind. So yes, we showed out at KidWind. That's our first time to come back with an award from KidWind Worlds, and so we couldn't be more pleased. Then we were at SeaPerch, and we have not posted this yet, but they've just gotten back. So we had West Ridge went, and I can tell you this for sure, they did amazing. I was looking at it a while ago, and of course I've lost that. Hold on. Yeah. Lynn, say something brilliant while I'm looking for this.
That team started, right?
They started.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
There was the one that when they got there, she walked up to me and she said, "Okay, we do not know what we're doing. This is when they came to our challenge. We don't know what we're doing. We just hope it will work. Because the kids have to build this and everything." But
I'm trying to look it up too.
37th overall.
Really?
37th overall out of 75 teams.
Wow.
Whew.
That's really
middle
good.
school. First time there.
That's right.
Yeah. And then I have the results for
high school too.
High school, yes. And they were 38th out of 75, and they moved up this year. And so last year they settled at about 50, but 50th. She said that they struggled a little bit with the obstacle course, but they were 9th in the country in mission course.
Wow.
And and so they did a phenomenal job. That's amazing. So we could not be more pleased. They went, here's the deal. That goes back to that fearlessness. They went, they faced it, they owned it, and they rocked it. Right. I mean, and so they get better every year. And that's what can you ask for? I mean, right?
Right.
Yeah, and you can go to SeaPerch.org, because I was looking it up as you were looking, and I found it kind of around the same time you did. SeaPerch.org to learn all about SeaPerch and what the project is, and also to view the competition results. Lots of great teams, and it's an honor to be invited.
It
to
is.
The dance, right? It's like the NCAA tournament, field of 64, except it's the field of 75. They're there. They're good enough to be there out of all these other teams and schools around the country, and then to come in 37th and 38th. That's saying something. And like you said, 9th.
In our second year of doing it.
Wow. 9th in the Mission Corps. Oh, my gosh. That's amazing.
And so that brings up a point. We have set the date for our training for next year. And we had our training last year at Louisiana Delta Community College.
Right.
So we need to see if we can come back over here and have our training.
Yeah,
it was awesome. Well, we love to host things here. And so I need to get with you and see how the calendars match up, and do it. So we'll have Kim Kaufman coming up from LSU again to train some teachers, and people learn a little more, and we want everybody. The more confident teachers are, the better they're going to be at helping the kids, leverage their confidence.
It was fun because we were in a nice little cozy environment.
It was very cozy.
But
it was not fresh.
But at the same time, people that normally wouldn't have talked to each other,
That's
they
right.
were like within earshot. I mean, like wouldn't whisper of each other, and they just started communicating, and it was great.
It was good.
We'll work for sure to see if we can replicate or do better, right? Thank you for also including us.
Absolutely.
It is, again, I used the word honor before, but it's an honor for SCILS to reach out to its partners and to Louisiana Delta to partner with us and allow us to even give personnel, facility, space, and so on.
So just so Lynne will know, we consider Louisiana Delta Community College a premier partner. And I don't use that lightly. And they're such an important part of our region. And so it's essential for us that they're part of the showcase, part of the, and because our kids need to know about the marvelous opportunities that they have here. Again, I go back to what I said a while ago. There are so many things they can do post-secondary. This is one.
Well, yeah, and even as far as careers go, right now, something to look out for in the job market is people are actually looking for more skills-based things versus the full-on degrees. Degrees are great. I have a couple of them myself. But in this current job market, what students really need is not only the head knowledge, but they need that tangible experience.
And those are the people I want working on my stuff and tending to
I
my
want someone
stuff.
who's had tangible experience fixing my car, right?
That's right. I mean, I was just bragging on, we had to take our car to the dealer twice here in the last couple of weeks, and I was just bragging on what a phenomenal job. And I'm going to tell you what, it started with the girl in customer service, dynamite. Yeah. They had our stuff done in record time, out, fantastic, and I said, I won't hesitate to go back there again. That was important to me. When we have to have somebody come out and mess with plumbing, I want them to know what the heck they're doing, And so that's important to me. And I'm like you. I've got enough degrees, and it's a little disgusting. But that's not the end-all to end all, And so I'm all about that. I want these kids to be ready. I want them to be ready.
We forgot one thing, speaking of being ready.
We did?
I wasn't ready. There was one item that we missed out on that
Holy
was
moly.
posted to Facebook. It was an inaugural event.
It was an inaugural event. We got so excited talking about the other stuff. Okay, this was amazing. This is our first drone competition. Now, you want to talk about not know what you're doing. We wandered up into this, and we could not have been more pleased. The kids loved it. I mean, they loved it. And the teachers loved that the kids loved it because they didn't really know what was going on either. But the kids had the guidebooks. They learned the stuff. And we did too, y'all. We had to be so careful with putting the course down because the kids learned to do their drones based on the measurements that were given in the guidebook. So if our measurements had been off even a little bit, it was going to foul them up. But they came, and again, fearless. They continue and love this. That's a graduate student in physics to the right. Having these kids interact with some of these people that they would never see. And so he's able to teach them some stuff while they're doing this. He was one of our volunteers. But, they had to work collaboratively. They had to, problem solve. They had to figure out what was going on with their drone, if they crashed their drone, if it didn't knock something off the right way. I mean, I just can't say enough about their tenacity and their ability to just get after it. Listen, one of the dads came by and he goes, these kids did this by themselves. I'm like, Bob, that's what they need to do, by themselves. But they did it. He said, you just need to stay out of it. You can cheer for them, but that's it. And look at that little middle guy. If he shook my hand once, he shook it 12 times, thanking me for the opportunity. Thanking me for the opportunity. And so, they did a fantastic job. And we're already booked for next year. And we just couldn't have been more pleased.
Every single time, it seems like every time there's a new experience, a new opportunity, it sticks, right? Starting with CS for You, SeaPerch came along, KidWind. I'm not saying it in an exact order. Now we got the aerial drone competition. And I just wonder if it's getting the proper amount of press that it should be getting. Are you posting? Is this thing getting published? All these different things getting published in newspapers and magazines and things like that. Because to know that there was a drone competition in Ruston, which is probably the only drone competition, at least for high schoolers and middle schoolers, in the whole region, and it happened, and it was amazing. These things this story has to be told. We're telling it here, but it needs to be, more people need to know about it, because I bet as it'll catch fire, as more people know, it'll just keep growing.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because our partnership with Region 6 and this recipe for rural STEM, talking about how rural areas can have robust STEM experiences that really affect kids' lives. We're really starting to put that on a platform more, and we're looking for opportunities to share that, which then we talk about these successes we've had, it didn't happen overnight, but it's one of those things where it's the partnerships, it's the intentionality of it and everything. So I think once we capture that audience, it's going to be helpful. Yes, it's been in the newspaper. Yes, we post it. Yes, we talk about it. But again, we're not in a metropolis. You know, we do the best we can with it. And really, I guess right now we feel like the most important thing is celebrating these people that have been willing to step up and say, we'll try. We'll try. And so back to Lake Providence, Lakeisha came over just to watch. She said, we're doing this next year. Wow. That's huge. Yeah. So Lake Providence will be coming to Ruston next year to do the drone competition. Now, y'all, I'm pretty sure that they didn't wake up and think, I bet we're going to do a drone competition. But there you have an adult that's all over it. She sees the benefit. She's willing to go to the mats. Hey, I mean, we can't ask for anything better. That's the way it happens.
Yeah, quite amazing. And, I think it segues into something else, which is no matter what time of the year it is, we're always learning. We're always growing. So we started off with the song, School's Out.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is it ever really out?
No. And I want to say one thing this weekend, and I'll have pictures from this, I guess, to show at the end of the summer. For our Peach Festival booth, Downsville's SeaPerch team is going to bring their award-winning ROV, and they're going to let kids run it in a tank of water. Yeah. And so that helps spread the message. They get to talk about their experience. You have kids that are like, this is cool. I want to do this, and so.
Can adults come try
yes,
it out?
They can.
I kind of low-key want to learn from these kids how to do this.
Absolutely. And so, I think the more that we can hear from people about what's going on and, let them tell their story, then we see how our story can intersect with theirs. No, school's never out.
Yeah. I was going to sneak in some School's Out music from Alice Cooper.
Bring it.
But if we're not ready to be done, if we're not out for this episode, then I can hold off. Are we ready?
I don't know, Lynn. Any burning anything? No, she's fresh. Nothing burning over there. Okay.
I'm just happy to be invited to the party.
Yeah, that's all. So this is I haven't asked you this. So this is your first exposure to SCILS, and I mean, you've just kind of got the tail end of what the year was about. What are your first impressions?
Yeah.
Oh.
I love it because I'm very much a practical application hands-on person because when I was a kid and in high school, I didn't have all these opportunities. They didn't exist.
Nope.
I was lucky to get access to dual enrollment because where I went to high school, small town called Converse, very rural and kind of out there. So it's like I grew up in kind of a rural part of Louisiana where I didn't have access to this. I didn't know about these opportunities. All I knew was, okay, I need to take my ASVAB test. I need to do a 10-year plan. I need to go to college. Those were the main opportunities I was given. But to see this and to see how it's grown even since then, because I'm young. It hasn't been that long. I mean, it's been a while, but it hasn't been that long since I've been in high school. And just to see the amount of growth, it makes me excited for the future, but also supporting something like this where you're doing that, being able to say, how can I in career services support SCILS? And how can I be there? And how can I help these students that didn't have access to it, that are older, to also kind of learn some of this stuff?
See, and I love that because I happen to believe there's a place for everyone. It takes all of us. And because none of us know everything. I kind of have a sense of what I'm doing, in my area. You have a sense of what you're doing in your area. Same to you, Ryan. But it takes us all bringing it together to have a complete picture, a complete story. And so, and I'm going to tell you, and when he said that you were doing career stuff, I'm like, this is exactly right. Because this last year, we became very focused on we've got to start spreading the word about careers better. So with our Recipe for Rural STEM Dates, 5th graders, they come, and you'll see all this next year. They come over to ULM, and we have a day where they go in and all these stations, and they're dealing with all these deals. They take home a STEM kit, and in it is a set of career cards that correspond to the different careers that relate to what they do. I mean, we make those in-house because we want it to be Region 8 careers, And so we want to expand that. Middle school kids need to have access. High school kids need to know. I mean, just because they're in high school, that doesn't mean they have a clue.
Right.
So there's work to be done.
More work to be done. And I think it's telling that you kind of caught the bug. All it takes is just to be in the room and to hear about all the great things that are happening in Skills Region 8. And now you're on fire for it as well.
Lightning in a bottle. Lightning in a bottle.
That's what happened to me, and that's how I got involved and at least was able to give a part of my skill set to it, And like you said, Kathy, it just takes us all to give a little bit at a time, and then we form that complete picture. So glad to have you on. So glad that this was like not a happy accident, just sort of. It was
great. It was great. I feel like we have a new partner, which always thrills me because it's all about expanding that network. And Lynne's going to be able to plug us into things that we wouldn't even know where to plug in. We don't even know we need to do that. And so it's like, we got, super deluxe resource going on here.
Well, and y'all do the same for me. Like, I always realize this, the older I get, the less I know. So I love to learn.
Wait till you get to be my age.
I can't wait to see how I feel about it when I'm older. But even at this point in my life, I realize the longer I live, the longer, I gather more info, the less I really know, and I'm willing to learn from all sorts.
Which goes back to school's never out. School's never out.
Never out. And I've tried to sneak this music in like 3 or 4 times, and I keep backing it down because
that's okay, because we were talking about suspicious minds, and there is a fade out. So you're kind of along with that thing. There's the fade in, fade out. So you're right on target. Miss Manette. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching us, and thank you for being a fan of the show. It really touches my heart, I know. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode as well. This one's for you. Until school's back in session. That's right. We'll see you next time, I think in August or September. Until awesome. Then. Happy summer.
Yes, happy summer.